show.
Let's get into it, gentlemen. We add Michael Irvin, the playmaker, who Stephen A's been looking for, to the list of people who believe Tony Romo can help a contender. Irvin says that there's no doubt Romo, who turns 37 in April, has 2 or 3 more years. Tony has played in 5 games the last 2 seasons. Stephen A. Smith, does Irvin make a good argument?
I have 2 things that I need to say first. Number one, after I leave this show, I do a radio show on ESPN Radio, okay? Michael Irvin showed up at Radio Row, saw me, and literally ducked for...
No, I don't believe it.
Ducked for cover.
How are you going to do Irvin like that? He did not jump.
The playmaker
Stop it.
was hiding like a typical cowboy lover. They all hide at some point.
He didn't want to go across the middle?
Nah, they didn't want to go across the middle. Now, you got some Cowboy fans that are like that. Then you have some Cowboy fans that are just so flagrantly disgusting and idiotic and get on my nerves. And there's one guy in particular, this dude right here. Stand up, man. Stand up right now. You see this guy? Time out. Time out. I have plans for him. Where's that police officer? I need a police officer. Could you come here, please? Come here, man. Come on over. Come on over.
Oh, Stephen A.
Could you do me a favor? I want this fan removed from this show. Could you remove him?
I can't do that. I'm
What?
a Cowboys fan too.
Oh, you just got got. Oh, yes.
They're everywhere.
I love her. That's what you deserve. You hate her.
They're everywhere. They've
Hate her.
infiltrated every segment of society.
The pulpit is not you.
They have infiltrated law enforcement.
Yeah.
Let me say this, y'all. I don't give a damn what Michael Irvin says. Tony Romo, 2 to 3 years left. He might not have 2 weeks left with that back of his. Oh, you got to be kidding me. If I'm Denver, I take the chance because I have very little to lose.
Oh,
But
so after you knock him, you're telling Denver to take him?
they have nothing to lose.
Oh,
They have nothing
okay.
to lose.
Okay, just
You
want to make sure.
You don't have to pay them.
Okay.
You don't have to pay them.
Just take it for fun.
Take it for fun.
Kicks.
You know, buy a few weeks for Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch and call it a day. But under no circumstances do you rely on the availability of a Tony Romo. You know what you need to rely on him? Rely on him to show up at Cameron Indoor Stadium to shoot jump shots at Duke. Rely on him to have picnics with his lovely wife and family. Rely on him to be seen in Jerry Jones' suite while Jerry Jones watches his grandson play sports. Rely on that, but do not rely on Tony Romo playing football.
You can rely on him to have a back injury. I mean, that will happen. Now look.
That's right.
Michael Irvin actually makes the best possible argument.
No, he doesn't.
Well, he does. It's a failing argument.
That's not great.
Now, but it's the best one you can make. He has 2 or 3 years left. Sure, he can play for 2 or 3 more years, and if you add up all the games he'd play in, it might equal a season. You know, he's really... It's not a knock against Romo. I think more of Romo than Stephen A. does. I even think Romo can be good under pressure. I think he'll be fine in the playoffs. He just can't stay healthy. So what Michael Irvin's argument is that you're getting from the shoulders up. You know, like, in other words, he has an arm, he has a brain, but you don't expect him to move around, and you've got to protect him. The problem is this: Denver doesn't have an offensive line, and they shouldn't game plan around Tony Romo anyway. I wouldn't bring him on. But let's say Denver had a really good offensive line. Let's say Denver had the best offensive line in the business. Guess who they'd be? The Cowboys. Cowboys got the best offensive line in the business, and Tony Romo still gets hurt. The Cowboys run an offense for Tony Romo, and Tony Romo still gets hurt.
Only because you lost your voice.
The Denver Broncos have a Super Bowl in the last quarter century.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about the Cowboys being anything that a Super Bowl
Addressing
champion.
Michael Irvin's point.
The hell with Michael
Irvin's point is Michael Irvin's point is if you can protect Romo and you design your offense around him, he can give you 2 or 3 seasons. My point is that's what the Cowboys did over the last several years, and he still couldn't give you more than 3 or 4 games. Why would it be different in a place with a worse offensive line whose whole offense is not constructed
No,
around
but the line wasn't always what it was. The line's gotten better over the last year. Yeah.
Michael Irvin is a Super Bowl champion.
I'm aware.
And a playmaker.
Aware.
Who's thrown all of that to the side because he's interested in wearing pom-poms and being a cheerleader. Michael Irvin.
Very disrespectful, Stephen A.
It's not
It is.
Excuse me.
So
Excuse me. That is my man. I love him, but he is no better.
Put down, save that voice. You've got a 2-hour radio show.
He is no better. Michael Irvin.
For him.
Michael Irvin this week is no better than. I'm sorry, that's an insult to the cheerleaders in Houston and right here for New England. He's worse than, listen, they're not bad at all. They're absolutely wonderful. He, on the other hand, is horrible because he has thrown aside his objectivity. He is sitting here at Super Bowl week talking about the Cowboys.
Time out.
What is the relevance?
Time out.
What is the relevancy of the Cowboys?
Quarterbacks don't grow on trees. A ton of teams need quarterbacks. I understand that Tony Romo's not that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, and I understand the back's connected.
Yes.
But don't act like this guy has nothing left in the tank, and he couldn't add value to a contender.
Excuse me.
Like if Houston
On a game-by-game basis.
You're knocking the guy and Denver.
See, I love how y'all sit up there and get all emotional about a particular player, right? But then when I come back with facts, we got a problem. Tony Romo is 78 and 49 as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Fine. Tony Romo has been a starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys for 10 years. He's got 2 playoff victories.
Name 10 quarterbacks that are better.
Time out. If we said that about anybody else, we would disregard them. We wouldn't even be talking about them. But all because he's a Cowboy and he happens to be a nice guy, we want to ignore the fact of his postseason futility. When you can argue with me about...
I want to say something about Tony Romo. Here's the problem.
Talk to me.
And Cowboys fans, you may or may not appreciate this. This is why everyone gets it twisted about Tony Romo. They don't think he should be a backup because he has a huge contract. Actually, going into this season, the whole problem with the Cowboys is they didn't have a backup quarterback. So guess what? You found your backup, and his name is Tony Romo. He's perfect. He can't stay healthy a whole season, but if you need him to pinch hit for a couple games, he could stay healthy for that. If you need him in the playoffs because something happens to Dak, you got him. Now, in terms of his huge contract, don't worry about it. Dak doesn't get paid yet. So the total amount you're spending on the position remains the same. Don't get caught up in the identity of the starter and the bench player. In this case, it's just not who you thought it would be. But the Cowboys are set at quarterback. I don't know why they're thinking about moving him.
Can I end the segment?
Yes.
Can I end the segment with this simple question?
Sure.
If any other starting quarterback in the NFL was a starting quarterback for 10 years and had a grand total of 2 playoff victories on their resume, would we even be talking about them? We're talking about Tony Romo because he's a member of the Cowboys. There is nothing relevant about Tony Romo.
I don't have time to argue. Yes, it's all about the health. All right, gentlemen, I want to stay with the subject.